So, hello Brett, nice to have you here.
It's nice to be here.
Real pleasure. We are really grateful that you came here. And my first question is about your visit to Prague. So how was it?
It has been fantastic. Probably very helpful that we had this wonderful couple that showed us Prague in a way that we would not have been able to do on our own. So thank you very much.
That's actually why I was asking you. You
Yeah.
know, I didn't hear this. Okay, but seriously, first thing I was interested in, I was wondering about was the first moment you came in touch with EFT and your impression from it, because that, as for me, it was really funny. And I saw you. I told you that the first moment I saw EFT was with you, and at the very first moment I was finding it very weird, but only until I started tapping with and then everything changed. So I wanted, actually, maybe I can ask both of you, what was your view, how you saw it at the first moment?
What was your first
Well,
time you saw?
I remember when you came back from the conference in Las Vegas. You went to the conference in Las Vegas, I think,
Mhm.
and that's where you went to a workshop with, I think it was the...
With Gary. Yeah.
With Gary. And I remember you coming back saying, oh my gosh, I am cured of wanting to eat chocolate. I don't think I ever need to ever have chocolate again. And it was also a time when you came back and you had a wonderful flight, and you had been having some times where flying on a plane after for a couple years you were really nervous, and you came back and he said it was the best flight I'd ever had.
Wow.
And you really felt like that was tapping.
Yeah, it was definitely
Yeah.
significant. The first time, as I look back at it, I think the first time I heard about tapping was Mary Eileen Pike had mentioned it to
Yeah.
me as a friend of her mom's, who's a hypnotherapist,
Okay.
and had mentioned this tapping thing, but she kind of just briefly said, "Oh, it's this thing where you tap," and that was all that I heard about it. And actually, I had also. It's funny because I had totally forgotten about it for a long time. I had gotten the video, the 5-minute phobia cure with Roger
Mhm.
Callahan,
Uh-huh.
and it didn't leave an impression with me at all.
All right.
For some reason, at that point, I just wasn't ready for it. So it seemed. So later, when we moved to Northern California, and these other hypnotherapists were talking about this energy psychology conference and getting trained in EFT, it was like I hadn't heard of it before. I'd totally forgotten about it. So, and I'd been to clown college, so this was not the strangest thing that I'd ever seen or done. I was a little more open-minded than some people are coming into it. But yeah, the thing that really sold me on it was the chocolate thing was
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
really profound. But to have a Hershey's Kiss and to not even be able to eat it was really profound.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. My next question is about the most significant aha moment you have had, maybe. Because as for me and as for people I work with, I very often experience different aha moments, real shocks, I think something is going on and suddenly there's some abstraction or there's something pops up and it's really, really surprising. So my question is, do you experience anything like that? And if so, can you give us something that was really interesting for you or surprising for you? Again, both of you, because Christy is half of me.
The better half. I am often surprised because in the process of tapping, when I'm working, it comes through me.
Mhm.
It's sort of downloading the information. So, and it's through the tapping that I open myself up to the intuition. It's not stuff that if I was just sitting there I would naturally
Yes.
think of, and things come to me. And I've sometimes said, something will come through me, and I'll say something out loud and go, "Wow, that was brilliant! I wish I'd thought of it."
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So there are often moments where I'm kind of surprised at what comes, like, wow. And then the client will say, that's, what are you, psychic? How do you know that, or something? And or that really hit the nail on the head. And it's just, and so there are often times that are, wow. And the tapping just facilitates that kind of intuitive aha moment.
So you have the same experience, Christy.
For me personally, I feel there have been times when I've just been struggling with something, maybe that I've held on to for a long time, and then sometimes it's when I'm at one of Brad's workshops, and I'll do it for a long time, during a 2-hour time period or whatever, and I'll just think, it just sort of went away, this thing I'd been holding on to, and there's almost like a feeling for me of like, that was so easy. Wow, I really fought that so long, and it just floated away.
All right.
And then just seeing how it calms me at times. Just some simple tapping sometimes. If I'm really wound up, it'll bring me down so that I can really be more present to different things I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. And now, my important question. So you started some time ago, and you had some expectations, I assume. So when you look back now, was it worth it or not? Starting tapping and learning tapping. And no.
I want to answer first. I will tell you this. I am a huge fan of Brad's, and I think he does wonderful work, and I love
Me
it.
too.
Yeah. And I've always been behind him, but I went kicking and I went kicking and screaming for a bit.
Yeah. Honey, I want to tap on my face for a living. How about that?
It wasn't so much the tapping. It was, I'm going to leave the steady job I have and do this full time.
Okay.
And I went, what? And I panicked.
Yeah.
Because she had put up with me as a struggling actor. So, because I'd had a steady job for the first time in my
With
life.
health
And
benefits and things like that.
health benefits. And so
And
here I am
again,
saying,
something weird.
I'm leaving this job.
And I sort of panicked, and I was a little resentful, and I thought, well, okay, fine, just try it. But I certainly wanted him to be successful. I will tell you, I was really worried, but Brad was able to just jump in and do it, and he started with this thing called YouTube, which was new. Nobody knew what it was. And I was like, okay, fine, do that. I don't know, it felt really edgy. And then it just snowballed so well for him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm your number one fan. But I was
paid off,
always
right?
his number one fan. But I will say I was resistant at first.
Okay.
And then I tapped.
Okay. Good. So
Now that it brings us to places like Prague.
Now I really like it.
It's like, wow, your old job didn't do that for us.
okay.
So for me, absolutely, this is from the journey from being an actor to doing this and finding this, and just you feeling much more fulfillment. And this is definitely my calling, and so I love every minute of what I do.
if you think that one day we'll just stop using drugs and medicaments and
Right.
if you think that EFT will be a very common thing for everybody, that all people will be using this on a daily basis, do you think it's possible, or do you believe it will happen?
I certainly hope so. That's why I make the YouTube videos, is to make it available to as many people as possible, make it easy to find. It's still in that place where some people grab onto it and they absolutely love it, and some people are like, it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. But Schopenhauer said, all truth goes through 3 stages. First, it's ridiculed. Second, it's violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as having always been self-evident. So we, are hopefully getting to that point where, we're still in that range where it's either ridicule or violent. There are people who violently oppose it.
Absolutely.
But more and more people are finding it and benefiting from it. People who are social influencers. We have on video sometimes sports stars tapping. You know, so you have these people who are like, oh, that's stupid. And you show them that, it's like, oh, if that guy's doing it.
Yeah.
So, in terms of will it, you know, will we stop using drugs? That I couldn't possibly say, because I think that there are a lot of benefits to Western medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are a lot of places where drugs have been helpful. So it would be a stretch for me to say, oh yes, I think that that just tapping on her face will clear everything.
Yeah.
Is it possible that we could, you know, use this as a tool for evolution such that we heal ourselves much more quickly and much more naturally?
Mm-hmm.
Entirely possible.
Yeah.
Not sure I'll live that long, given the rate that it's going. But you know, I'm absolutely open to the possibility that humans will evolve to that point.
Christy? Same.
Well, I agree with what he's saying. I mean, I kind of feel like there might be a place for both. I think, you know, there's nothing works for everybody, right? So I wouldn't say one thing has to take the place of the other, but I do feel like there are a lot of people maybe who could find a lot of help and not have to use something that isn't helpful for them.
Yeah.
And that would be great, you know? And I see a lot of people who suffer through, I mean, we're human beings, we're born and we are going to die, so we can't change that. I don't think I don't think EFT will take care of that, but that doesn't mean it has to be a bad thing, and we could make that our transition to the next plane could be maybe less painful and less of a struggle.
Oh, thank you, that was beautiful. Yeah, another question is about being lazy, which is my case, unfortunately. Actually, no.
I don't believe in the word lazy.
Yes.
It's resistance.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
We will resist something because something inside of us is telling us it's not safe to do it.
Yeah.
Because there are so many other things that we do that it's like, well, if you're lazy, if you're just lazy, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
It's the things that unconsciously we're telling ourselves there's an outcome that could happen that I'm not comfortable with, and so we find reasons. And lazy is just such a common thing that it's like, oh, well, I'll just call it lazy, and it becomes easy. Because if I say I'm just lazy, I don't have to confront what's going on inside.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, oh, there's no issue to tap on. I'm just lazy. And it keeps us safely in our comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly,
Right.
because as human beings, we really fear change on many levels, even though we say outwardly, I really want to change and I want these new things to come into my life, but that's fearful.
Yeah.
Even if we don't admit it, there's some of that, and it's fearful. I know I experience that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually discussed it yesterday,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In the way in the car, that we are afraid of what might pop up, but usually it's just a little gray mouse. We can deal it very quickly. It's not such a
But
big problem.
there's a part of us that makes it look like a huge monster.
Yes, and that's what
And,
we are afraid of.
And even if we're miserable, we're a little bit comfortable with our misery because we
Yeah.
know it
Absolutely,
well.
because
And
we know
our
it well.
anger
Yes,
well,
yes.
and we know our trauma
Uh-huh,
well. We
uh-huh.
have wrapped ourselves around it, and so peeling that away
Yeah.
means, oh my gosh,
Yes. Yeah.
I
I
like
don't
to
know
say,
if I'll know how to do that
Uh-huh.
without it. So it's
I like
hard.
to say it's like, you know, even if our life is crap,
Uh-huh.
it's our crap. We know
Yes,
where it goes. We
yes,
have a place
yes.
for it.
Yes,
It's
we
like,
know what
I
will
know,
happen
yeah,
tomorrow.
exactly.
You know, if we do this, what will the
Yes.
consequence be, right?
Part of it's like the same old crap. Thank goodness, because I know how to deal with that. Don't give me something
Yeah,
new.
yeah,
Even if it doesn't
absolutely.
look like
Yeah.
crap, it's still different, and that's scary to us.
So I'm really happy that I heard it from you, because this is exactly what I was thinking and what my experience was
Well, then it must be
showing.
right.
So,
Yeah. Laziness, it's just unwillingness. And I like to say that when we're feeling unwilling, the person who's willing to do it may just be a few taps away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Good. So, I thought I would ask you if you would be so kind and do something with us.
Okay, so what I ask folks to do is go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and hold it. And let it go. And think about maybe some time when you have felt lazy. Some point when you've been resistant. to doing something. Maybe there's something that you've been meaning to do for some time and keep putting it off. And maybe you've told yourself, I guess I'm just lazy. And just notice what goes on inside. Imagine yourself actually doing that thing, taking that action. And notice what thoughts, beliefs, and memories come up. Notice what physical or emotional disturbances or discomfort might come up as you think about doing that action, such that part of you is saying, I don't want to do that. And take a deep breath. And open your eyes. And for those of you at home, you must take full responsibility for your own well-being if you choose to tap along. Even though I sometimes think I'm lazy,
Even though I sometimes think I'm lazy,
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
Even though I sometimes call myself lazy,
Even though I sometimes call myself lazy,
I choose to love and honor myself anyway.
I choose to love and honor myself anyway.
Even though I sometimes call myself lazy,
Even though I sometimes call myself lazy,
because there are things I want to do,
because there are things I want to do,
or at least things I think I should do,
or at least things I think I should do,
and I haven't gotten them done.
and I haven't gotten them
I
done.
really drag my feet,
I really drag my feet,
and I feel so tired,
and I feel so tired.
and I just don't want to do it,
I just don't want to do it.
and I just decide that I'm lazy.
And I just decided that I'm lazy.
And even though I sometimes call myself lazy,
And even though I sometimes call myself lazy,
I choose to deeply and completely
I choose to deeply and completely
love, honor, and accept myself,
love, honor, and accept myself,
and maybe anyone else
and maybe anyone else
who has supported this idea that I was just lazy.
who has supported this idea that I was just lazy.
All this idea that I'm 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 lazy.
This excuse that I'm lazy.
This excuse that I'm lazy.
This belief that I'm lazy.
This belief that I'm lazy.
And maybe I've had this belief for a long time.
And maybe I've had this belief for a long time.
Maybe it's just one of those things I know about myself.
Maybe it's just one of those things I know about myself.
Yeah, I'm just lazy.
Yeah, I'm just lazy.
There are things I should be doing,
There are things I should be doing,
and I just never get around to them.
and I just never get around them.
I hate doing them,
I hate doing them.
and it's so hard to do things that I hate doing.
And it's so hard to do things that I hate doing.
All this resistance
All this resistance
to doing these things.
to doing these things.
And then I just tell myself,
And then I just tell myself,
I'm just lazy.
I'm just lazy.
And I choose to clear that idea,
And I choose to clear that idea,
clearing it at a cellular level
clearing it at a cellular level,
and all the way back through my past,
and all the way back through my past,
back through all the times in my life
back through all times in my life
that I've called myself lazy,
that I've called myself lazy,
back through all the times in my life
back through all the times in my life
that anyone else has called me lazy.
that anyone else has called me lazy.
They didn't realize
They didn't realize
that they were wrong.
that they were wrong.
I was just resistant,
I was just resistant,
maybe scared,
maybe scared.
because if I took that action,
Because if I took that action,
there would be consequences.
there would be consequences.
Maybe when I was a kid,
Maybe when I was a kid,
my parents wanted me to clean my room,
my parents wanted me to clean my room.
and part of me is saying,
And part of me is saying,
I wasn't afraid,
I wasn't afraid.
I was just lazy.
I was just lazy.
But maybe part of me was afraid
Maybe part of me was afraid
that if I cleaned my room,
that if I cleaned my room,
I'd miss out on something fun.
I'd miss out on something fun.
Or my parents would expect that I would do it all the time.
Or my parents would expect that I would do it all the time.
So cleaning my room
So cleaning my room
had consequences.
had consequences.
And then I just called myself lazy.
And then I just called myself lazy.
I'm not lazy.
I'm not lazy.
I'm clearing this idea that I'm lazy.
I'm clearing this idea that I'm lazy.
I'm just resistant.
I'm just resistant.
And I choose to clear the resistance.
And I choose to clear the resistance.
What am I afraid of?
What am I afraid of?
With all those things that I don't do,
With all of the things that I don't do,
and then I just say that I'm lazy,
and I just say that I'm lazy,
what really stops me from doing them?
what really stops me from doing them?
What am I really afraid will happen?
What What am I really afraid will happen?
What am I afraid of the consequences?
What am I afraid of the consequences?
Because there are other things
Because there are other things
that I could easily find the energy to do.
I can easily find the energy to do.
If someone invited me to something that sounded fun,
If someone invited me to something that was fun,
suddenly I'd find the energy.
Suddenly I
suddenly
find
I
the
find the
energy.
energy.
If I were just lazy, that wouldn't happen.
If I
If
was
I were
lazy,
just lazy,
that wouldn't happen.
So I'm clearing this idea that I'm lazy.
So
So I'm
I'm clearing
clearing
this idea that I'm lazy.
I'm giving myself permission
I'm giving myself permission.
to figure out what I'm afraid of,
What I'm
Figure out what
afraid
I'm
of.
afraid of,
what I'm resisting,
What I'm
what I'm
resisting.
resisting,
and clear the fear
and clear the fear,
so I can get things done.
so
So
I can get things done.
Because I deserve to get things done.
Because I
So I
deserve
to get things done.
So I'm setting myself free
So I'm setting myself free
in body, mind, and spirit.
in body, mind, and spirit.
Take a deep breath. Then you can close your eyes and think again about some moment where you've been lazy or something you've been resisting doing. And just notice what goes on inside there. And hopefully there's maybe some different ideas have come to mind and some shifts about
I feel
that.
like going and doing it right now.
Bye!
Maybe I'll. Okay, thanks, Brad. Oh, it was really wonderful. Thank you very much. And not only for this interview, but for everything you are doing for us, for all people. We really appreciate that. And thank you so much.
My pleasure, thank you.